Hi, this is Cheyenne Meadows, and I'm the High Ability Learning Specialist at the Nebraska Department of Education, and welcome to another HAL hack. This week, we're going to be talking about supporting SEBL for high ability learners at the core within an MTSS system. So this quote I really love. I think it sums up the experience of high ability learners pretty well. Emotions cannot be treated separately from intellectual awareness or physical development. All three intertwine and influence each other. Gifted children's thoughts and emotions differ from those of other children, and as a result, they perceive and react to their world differently. This is exceptionally true for high ability learners because they have different SEBL needs and different intensities. They do perceive the world differently than their non-gifted peers. And so to not take their emotional well-being and their emotional differences into account is really a disservice to their academics as well. So if we think about academics and SEBL, they go hand in hand. So we know that children who are happier, mentally healthy, they have greater motivation to learn, they participate in class, their attitude is generally more positive, and with that comes higher academic performance. So if we want to make sure that we are optimizing their performance and giving them those chances and to reach their full potential, we want to make sure that we are considering mental health factors as well. So a systematic approach for promoting social emotional behavioral development is really common in schools, and it does increase academic success, and it often improves relationships between teachers and students and decreases problem behaviors. So if we think about SEBL, this is from the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, or CASEL, as a lot of people know it. And these are the SEBL competencies that they have laid out. These are different competencies that span across all grades, all classrooms, all ages. They use this for adult SEBL as well. And it is those 5 different things are self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. So all of these come together to promote mental health, positive mental health, and SEBL competency. Again, we know that it's important to have these different things in order to interact with ourselves and the world around us in a positive way. So self-awareness is being aware of your own emotions, your own thoughts, and how to control and interpret those. Self-management is how we can control those emotions and interact with others and intake others' emotions in, with our own. Responsible decision-making is pretty self-explanatory. It's obviously being able to weigh the pros and cons of a situation and make a decision that we deem to be responsible for ourselves and others. Relationship skills, so being able to interact successfully with peers, teachers, parents, other people in the community. And then social awareness, so being able to look at situations and understand how you impact the situation and how the situation is impacting you in turn. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can do some of these different SEBL things for our high ability learners at the core. So if you think about the Mtss framework, this is what's going to happen within the general education classroom for all students. But more specifically, this is what we can do in the general education classroom for high ability learners. And this was part of a presentation with Lindsay Fryatt, who is the statewide SEBL lead for MTSS. And what we have done is we have taken each CASEL competency and added some different interventions or ideas within those to help promote that specific skill. So at the top, you'll notice that it says ensure appropriate curriculum match prior to moving into more intensive instruction or interventions. What this means is that you need to make sure that the high ability learner is being challenged appropriately academically. Research shows that students who are not challenged academically, especially if they're gifted, can display problem behaviors or display other SEBL needs. If we make sure that we are challenging them appropriately, that gets rid of a lot of perceived behavioral issues or SEBL needs. So if we think about self-awareness, we want to make sure the student understands and values giftedness and knows what it is and what it is not. For example, we need them to know that being gifted or a high ability learner does not mean that they have to be perfect all the time. And it doesn't mean that they're better than the next person, and it doesn't mean that they're always going to succeed in every single thing they do. We need them to understand that it means they have a special talent or a special skill, and they should value that, and they should be able to look at that and know where they're and create a more realistic view of self from that. Also, using interest and likes to help them form an identity. If giftedness defines their identity, a lot of times that can cause issues down the road, especially if they get a bad grade and all of a sudden they're freaking out because if I'm not the smart kid, what am I? So don't let the giftedness define their identity. So use their interests and likes to help them define their identity as a person rather than as just a high ability learner. Self-management, we know, can be a problem for our gifted kiddos, especially if they seem really high strung or kind of disorganized and all over the place. So at the core, we can make sure that we're praising and valuing the process over the product. Again, high ability learners tend to be perfectionists or get really upset if what they're doing, they perceive that what they're doing is not good enough. So praising the process means that we are teaching them to work hard and regardless of the outcome and maybe take some of those more intense risks later. Exemplifying appropriate regulation of emotions is also important. We know that high ability learners have a propensity to have meltdowns because again, they perceive everything really intensely. And so something that may seem small to us may seem like a big deal to them. And so exemplifying how to appropriately regulate emotions and how to handle different situations when they're upset. Something that we can do for all students, but this becomes really important for high ability learners later as they go into high school, is promoting organizational and study skills. We see a lot of times that high ability learners get to high school and they've never had to study or organize their things, and so they have a hard time adjusting. And so if we can start promoting those organizational and study skills early, it helps them make that transition as they go into harder classes and need to study. Understanding consequences is also really important for responsible decision making. Academic consequences include things like, not only poor grades, but maybe, again, effort, understanding that just because they do something doesn't mean they've done it well or they've done it to the best of their ability. Also understanding behavioral consequences, especially for our younger kiddos who may become frustrated with peers that don't learn as fast as them or become they have again a hard time controlling themselves and their words, and they have a tendency to blurt out. And so we want to make sure that they are understanding consequences when they make a decision. Relationship skills. One of the really big ones that's super easy is to place them with their likability peers. So a lot of times high ability learners have trouble relating to the kids in their grade or the kids that they're around because they think on that higher level and they're craving intellectual stimulation and they want to talk to people who are interested in what they're interested in and can have a conversation on their level. So carving out time for them to be with peers that they may not be their chronological age, but they're closer to their cognitive age really helps them develop socially. And again, promoting social activities in class for all students, high ability learners, especially if they are perceived that they're in a class that's not challenging for them, they tend to withdraw and tend to want to work alone. So promoting those activities to create relationship skills, kind of not forcing them into group work, but creating those situations where they are interacting with other people. And with social awareness, I mentioned that they may not have a lot of tolerance for students who learn slower or who think differently or maybe don't come to the same conclusions as them. They have a hard time understanding why that is or kind of what the process of other people's thinking is. And so teaching that tolerance, having those conversations with those students about, hey, maybe he took this route, but he still got the same answer as you. Let's look at how you two can work together, or making sure they understand that just because somebody doesn't learn as fast as them doesn't mean they're, dumb or stupid. It means that they just have a different way of thinking. And so teaching that tolerance is really important. Thank you for tuning into this HAL hack. We will be talking more about SEBL in the other levels of MTSS soon. As always, feel free to reach out to me via email, and I look forward to sharing the next one. Thank you.